Welcome to Living from Happiness, where we talk about the psychology of happiness these days, no matter what. I'm Dr. Melanie Harth. The station is KSFR 101.1 FM. I'm a psychologist and a narrative journalist, and the lovely and gracious JoAnne Dodgson is back with us today. Hey, JoAnne.
Hi, great to see you.
Great to see you. Tell us where you are right now. Where are you on the planet?
On the planet, I'm in Taos, New Mexico,
and
I'm in my little casita,
which looks like a beautiful adobe with fabulous ceilings. So I'm talking the visuals, even though we're on radio, because we're now video taping all of these shows. Listeners, you can go to the Facebook page at Dr. Melanie Harth /Living from Happiness and watch us recording the show. If that interests you. Let me introduce you, JoAnne Dodgson. You've got a doctorate in counseling psychology and holistic health. You're a published author, a college instructor, a community activist, and you're an initiate into the Eastern Andes shamanic lineage. And I forgot to start my timer. So let me push the timer, and I'll have to make up those few seconds on the other end. You're an initiate into the Eastern Andes shamanic lineage of Katasi. And let's just dive into the deep end, JoAnne. We don't have so much time, and there's a lot happening out there in the world, right? People are feeling a lot of emotions these days. What can help us hold on to the anxiety that pretty much everybody seems to be experiencing, whether it's anxiety about money, about getting sick, about loved ones being far away, and the world itself dying? What can help us hold that, all of this?
Yeah, it's a lot of emotions, and for many people, many aspects of their lives are touched by that. And at this time, what I feel is important is there's room for the emotions. We need some space to express it, talk about it. There's a lot of grief, and often then the current moment evokes things from the past that have been unexpressed in our lives, or we've tried to hold back. So for many people, it can just feel like a tsunami of emotion.
Yes.
So using your energy to hold all that in just adds more to the stress. So we need safe spaces and safe people, and or personal writing, drawing, artwork. Some is helpful for some people, movement. And also to have ways that we're not focusing on what the challenges and problems are. To have some sense of turning our attention in another direction for however much time we might have at hand. So some people say, I have no time for that. But most of us could find a minute or two. And even that is so replenishing. To open up your senses to notice the world around you, wherever you are, inside or outside. To see with fresh eyes, to take a deep breath. Getting our bodies moving is really helpful on many, many levels.
Yes.
So ways to come back out, to find out, remember who we are, not stress, not worry, not fear.
Yes. There's a way in which, I'm just making a note about stopping on time since I messed it up. There's a way in which your voice for me right now embodies some of that slowing down and sort of staying home here, which is in my body, which I think certainly in Western cultures we have completely forgotten to do, and pretty much completely discount that it even matters to do that, to stay in our body. And that takes me to another point that I want to talk to you about. But first, I want to talk about this making room for grief. Does everyone understand what grief feels like?
What a beautiful question.
It's kind of a big question. Sorry to throw that at you.
It's an important question, because we all need to sit in these questions or we won't discover. So grief often can get hidden anger,
Mm-hmm.
under the anger, or on
Yes.
top of the anger, or woven
Yes.
inside that anger.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Stress. We may aim it outward, and we may aim it inward.
Mm-hmm.
Self-denigration, self-harm, use of
Mm-hmm.
addictive substances to numb it out. So there's a lot of ways it can get buried, and we don't even realize, what it really is loss that
Yes.
I'm having, and it might be being shown in all these other ways. Losses happen, and it's not like competition of who's had the hardest loss. When we get caught in that, we'll neglect our own.
Mm-hmm.
We also have significant losses from other times in our life that when we look back, we would say, oh, that's not such a big deal. But when we're in the moment as a child or an adolescent or 20-year-old or 40-year-old or, wherever we are, it matters at that time.
It was everything
So that's, I
in
think,
those moments. Yes.
yes.
Everything. And there's a wonderful word, it comes from Hawaiian shamans that I first read about in a John Lee book. And the word is una hipili. And every one of my clients has heard this word. And how it translates best in English is the young one in me who knows and remembers everything. There's a part of us who remembers everything. And boy, when we haven't understood that, and this is a whole lifetime's work of unpacking to sort of get to the end of it, and I don't think there's an end of it, but how to hold that reality, how to hold that truth, how to hold that young one of us. So I think what you're talking about, JoAnne, in part is when there is so much trauma going around, when there is so much anxiety, and it's anxiety that is sort of, I don't like the word justified, but it's what's coming to me right now, because there's a real problem. We are dealing with a real problem, and beyond that, a series of very real problems. And we are having real reactions and responses to these very real problems right now. But if we have had experiences in the past that were also painful, that we are still grieving, and I have done a ton of work on my own personal kind of healing journey around sexual abuse and incest when I was a child. That doesn't ever go away. I don't care how much work we have done. So that can also get triggered, that old energy, that old imprint, and it can all get mixed up together.
Absolutely. And what feels important is then so much tenderness, anxiety, stress, feeling other people are controlling your lives, which, when there's a mandate to quarantine, for example.
Right. Or you can't work.
Or you can't go to work.
Not allowed to work.
Yeah, and your children can't go to school.
Yes.
So any other moment we've had where we didn't have the power in our lives, a victimhood can get evoked.
Yes.
And so for me, what it feels like is tenderness, gentle care for ourselves and with each other, just to offer that. If we can offer, if we feel like I have nothing else to offer but that, it's an extraordinary gift.
Well, it is. And that takes me to another question that I want to talk to you about, JoAnne. And that is something you write. And then I do want to talk before we're finished today about interconnectedness, because that takes me back to this other loop. I have read that women have a way of communicating with each other that is more circular in process rather than necessarily linear. And I am definitely the circular processor and communicator. Sorry, folks, if I'm leaving you in the dust. Oh, God, now I forgot what I was going to ask you about that. Something that you wrote about. Oh, shoot. Personal healing that transforms the world. It's a phrase I took out of your beautiful book called Spirit of Chocolate, JoAnne Dodgson. What did you mean when you wrote, which I think you were just now alluding to, how can personal healing transform the world?
That's how we will. Because we will be and live, as you were talking about embodying our own bodies. We will be at home in ourselves, and whoever we are in our uniqueness, and however we're feeling, that is what we bring to this planet. It can't be something else.
Yes.
And so we work so hard out there to like think I got to change that and change that person and that group and this thing. And the healing that will be most enduring is the healing that we do on the inside, and then we're living it.
Yes.
So if I want more peace on this planet, where I have found I needed to really look was where I was warring on the inside. Where was I battling my own self? Where was I going against my own well-being? That's a war. So when I could stop that, I was not adding more war to a planet that I said I wanted to have more peace. So it's we live, my cat is over here kind of dancing around in a basket, so she has a lot to say about this. She said the humans have kind of made it all complicated. So,
and how do we uncomplicate that?
Well, the simplicity of looking inward. Western society fights that, so we're going to have to do some unlearning and reach beyond the fears and not point the fingers out there to blame. And when they all get it together, everything's going to be fine. Our true empowerment to bring healing to our planet lies within us.
Yes. Each one of us. Yes.
Each one of us.
Because none of us lives alone, isolated, even though at the moment we're self-isolating, and many people do live alone, either by choice or because that's just the way it's worked out for them. But we are all in community. When I go to the grocery store, when I have a conversation with you, when I talk with my son, I am in community, and who I bring to that conversation matters very, very much. And I think that's what you're talking about. And I have I can learn to be better with that. I was going to say I have control over that, but I'm not sure that that's true. But I can, to a great extent, work with my own self here. And in doing that, as you write, the personal healing, the personal learning can transform the world. If I can help my son feel better, he will then feel better in the next thing he has to take on, the next person he talks with. We need to stop right here, JoAnne Dodgson. And when we come back, let's talk about interconnectedness, because we've been talking kind of around that so far. I'm Dr. Melanie Harth. The show is Living from Happiness, and the station is KSFR 101.1. Listeners, if you'd like to hear more ideas about happiness, no matter what, go to my website, melanieharth.com, and sign up for my newsletter. We'll be right back. I'm Dr. Melanie Harth. The show is Living from Happiness, in the station. It's KSFR 101.1. And JoAnne Dodgson, author, teacher, college instructor, community activist, PhD in counseling, psychology, and holistic health, and initiate into the Eastern Andes shamanic lineage of Katasi. Let's talk about interconnectedness. We've been talking around that, alluding to it. Tell us more about what Katasi can teach us about interconnectedness.
Yeah, the understanding of our humanness is that we are any human as well as any other being on this planet, the trees, the birds, the rivers, the air. We all have consciousness. We're all alive. Everyone and everything is alive. Everyone and everything has a song, a uniqueness about their beingness. And all of these beings are interconnected. We're all part of the web of life, a vast, vast web. And it doesn't stop on the earth. You know, the web extends on and on and on. You know, our closest in other beings in the cosmos are our moon and the sun. So we have a particular relationship, earth, moon, and sun. And the web just radiates on and on and on and on. So we all we all are part of the web. We all are continually contributing to the web. We're continually co-creating the web of life. No matter what we're doing, conscious or unconscious about it, we're adding something. We're giving and receiving a lot throughout the course of every single day.
Because the web itself is alive, is sentient, and it's much bigger, I think, than what my little mind can actually comprehend. But it doesn't matter that might sound a little funny to me, weird, odd, woo-woo. It is. I see your cat in the background. I'm shy he or she went someplace else. But it is alive. We are alive. Right. And what I'm hearing you say, JoAnne, is that each of the components of the web of life sort of have equal status and standing. No thing is more important. Now, I don't know if this is what Katasi teaches, but I'm trying to get to the point that humans, at least in Western cultures, we kind of think we're the be all and the end all, and that ain't it, right?
Exactly. One of the things that has been deeply profound for me in my diving into Katasi is to explore the possibility of an existence where there is no hierarchy. Among the tribal peoples, in their native language, there's no word for judgment. They didn't have it. They didn't need to name it. And if you just think for 2 seconds about our English language and our Westernized culture, we are filled with all sorts of layers and kinds of judgments and hierarchies. So that description you have of equity, all beings are to be honored and respected, and we can seek to understand and connect directly with. And it's so vast. Our human mind truly can't categorize it all or put it in an encyclopedia.
Oh, but you know what can? I think our soul. Our soul can do that. And again, I think this in part goes back to that interconnectedness. When we in Western culture are so sort of, I call it neck up sometimes. I forget that I have a body. I don't really need the body. A lot of us just drag it around as an afterthought. But in fact, it's one whole thing, right?
Yes.
And my mind might not be able to comprehend it. And there's a lot of neuroscience about that, which we're not going to go into. But gosh, my soul sure can comprehend this web of life that you're talking about.
Yes, we can feel it, we can sense it. So the elders in Katasi would have described that as our song, carries all of that knowledge.
I love that they call it the song. I just love, it's a beautiful, beautiful concept and a beautiful word. Let's switch subjects maybe a little bit. JoAnne Dodgson, what are some of the gifts, the opportunities, the learning being offered to each of us and to humanity as a whole, as we're still in the early stages of this COVID-19, at least in this country?
Well, one is, I feel what we were just describing, really seeing and understanding our interconnectedness, and not just as an intellectual concept, to feel it. And what would it mean to live that? I feel that's the question we can keep asking ourselves and questing for, have it a sacred quest. What I see, one of the things that fascinates me and awes me is how the earth, the ecosystems of our earth have shifted in a matter of weeks.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
It's astonishing.
And so quickly. I never thought it could I would thought it would take decades and decades and decades and decades to see. There was a video going around for a while on social media of a jellyfish just kind of hanging out in one of the canals in Venice, Italy, clear to the bottom, just doing its thing. And whales. I just saw a headline about whales because of the lack of shipping lanes and cruise ships.
Yes, So for me, that one that shows what you were describing about, it's not just about us humans. This earth is not just for us, and it's not just about us. And look what happened when we slowed. We didn't have to come up with a 10-year plan and environmental programs, really. We needed to stop. And then this regenerative, natural healing that exists. And that's in the web of life, and that's in us too. So my wonderings is, how could we also really access that kind of organic, natural, seemingly magic, beyond our expectation kind of healing that can happen in a very short amount of time. Yes. So how could we step into that as humans in the midst of this time and around other things beyond the focus on the coronavirus and all that's around us? There's many other things on the planet. And can we seek this regeneration and participate in it?
Yes.
I'm curious about that.
Yes, and even contribute to it. And I think our curiosity is enough of a contribution. Yeah. Speaking of gifts, JoAnne Dodgson, you offer a wonderful sounding one to folks who sign up for your newsletter on your website, which is your ebook called Unleashing Love, Medicine Stories to Feed Your Spirit and Awaken Your Heart. First, tell us where listeners can find that free gift.
Yes, my website is with my name, JoAnneDodgson.com. So JoAnneDodgson.com. And when you sign up for the newsletter, you'll get a link for that book. And it's a collection of medicine stories, some of my own lived experiences, and some of what I put into, other beings are telling the story, sharing the story, showing the story.
Wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful. And well, and my second question was, what will we find in that gift? And you have just told us that. We are winding down, but we have a couple of minutes left. Is there something that you'd like to kind of shine a little light on as we leave?
What I would love for people to find is the remembering of the beauty of who you really are. Humans, we are much more than we've been led to believe. And when you find that in you, there's really nothing greater you can offer to anyone around you, because you're bringing you, like the way a tree is a tree, a coyote is a coyote, just every cell in their being. That's your authenticity, your genuineness. And when you touch others with that, the invitation just exists for them to find their way there too. You don't have to talk about it. It just exists in the sharing. I would love for us as humans to really know our beauty and our capacities, to love that is truly boundless. That is my dream. And from there, then we live in a new kind of balance with all of the beings on the planet, ourselves, other humans, and all of life.
Well, when we start living from love and choosing from love, it changes everything.
It changes everything.
Everything. And it is my feeling, my sense of things, that everything is at stake right now. Everything is at stake right now, at least for humanity. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, we can tip it. So what direction do we want to go?
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is it. It's a crossroads.
Yes.
Huge choice point for humanity, and the jury is still out, to mix a whole bunch of metaphors. The jury, I wouldn't bet money either way how it can go, but it can go one of two ways. And we still have this opportunity to choose in a more conscious, mindful, heart-centered way. Isn't that the tagline on your website? What is the tagline on your website?
Living in a heart-centered way creates a heart-centered world.
Yes, beautiful.
So that's what we've been talking about. What's happening internally, it's what creates a ripple effect in our world.
We're going to end with this beautiful phrase that you use in your emails, which is mana ole u mana ole. Did I pronounce that right?
Mana ol u mana ol.
What is that language, and what's the translation?
It's from the native language of the tribal peoples in the East Andes who lived Katasi for many, many generations on our planet. And it's the greeting from my heart to the heart of the Mother Earth to your heart. Mana ol u mana ol.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, JoAnne Dodgson, for being with us today.
Thank you so much. It's been a joy.
You're welcome. I'm Dr. Melanie Harth. The show is Living from Happiness, and the station is KSFR 101.1. Thanks to Sean Conlon for getting this show up in the air, or I'm not sure, uploaded. Thanks to Jeff Curtis for the show's music. And as always, my friends, thanks so much for listening. Here's to your happiness. Take care. Bye-bye, JoAnne.
Bye-bye.